Hey there, everybody. This video is our review of This Is Us Season 5, Episode 9. I barely have enough fingers to do that. This is entitled The Ride. Come on a ride with us, I say, as though I actually have a driver's license. This episode is a lot of people in cars. Like, a lot of people in cars.
It is. I mean, I'm not gonna pretend that this was my favorite episode. I had some problems with this episode, and if I'm being really honest with you guys, this is probably my least favorite episode of the season.
There are some problems. Like, I will definitely agree with that. There are a couple big moments. There is the moment at the very, very end in the future. We had a good flash forward that we'll talk through, but you know, there was a lot of a drive, to use the metaphor of this episode, to get to that big reveal at the end.
Buckle up, guys. There's going to be a lot of car references and puns, as I just used one too, right?
That's right. See, all right, well, guess what I'm doing now? I'm grabbing the steering wheel and telling you guys that if you like this video, subscribe to the channel because, you know, as we go through the road trip that is life, there are more episodes of This Is Us coming. We want you guys to be in the car with us as we take this trip.
Also, Sunday is my birthday. Yay! So we were actually thinking about maybe doing like a birthday video. I know we don't really do a lot of videos on this channel that are away from TV, but Matt brought it up the other day of maybe doing something sort of like a sharing my birthday loot or some of the fun things that Matt has planned. If that's something that you guys do want to see,
I
with
hope people
this maniacal
can hear
laugh,
the maniacal laughter on the video.
if this is something that you guys want to see, just let us know in the comments. And if it's not, let us know in the comments too. We kind of want to, you know, make sure that we're not producing content that you guys are like, I don't want to watch that.
I think it's going to be fun. I'm just throwing it out there.
I think it would be fun. But, you know, we want us to all be part of it, sort of thing.
Okay, here's my number one question coming out of this episode. How did Kevin get a pumpkin cream cold brew in February?
Right,
like,
I know.
I have never wanted to be Kevin Pearson more in my entire... Screw the acting career, the money. Give me a pumpkin cream cold brew in February, dang it.
Listen, when that thing came out, Matt drank a lot of them.
They were delicious. I'm just saying. I don't know if we can continue this video, but you know what?
Well, we're gonna. I don't like them. I don't like cold pumpkin.
Okay, well, let's get into the future here.
Well, let's get into the main overall of this episode. We are going to get into the future and sort of all those theories and stuff like that. But overall, this episode felt like it was really lacking for me. It felt like until the very end that there wasn't really any story that was going on. Like, yes, there was a story of everyone in the cars and bringing home their babies and everybody having a hard time with stuff, but it felt like there just almost wasn't enough content to make this episode. And it felt like I was on a drive that led me nowhere.
I'm trying to think through all the stories in my head and think, okay, what did I learn from insert story here or there? And the truth is, Jack and Rebecca, I love Milo. I think he's great as Jack, but, you know, we already knew that Jack had a drinking problem. We didn't know the extent of it on that particular ride, but I didn't come out of Jack's story feeling like I got anything new at all.
No, and then we had everything, you know, Kate and Toby and everything with Ellie, and she decides that she doesn't really want to be part of the open adoption right now, and I don't think this really surprised anybody. I mean, it's one, like Toby said, it's one thing to have a plan, and then it's another thing to feel how you're going to feel when things are actually happening. And, you know, I hope that Ellie's going to come back around. She will want to or be able to do this, and if not, that's okay too.
Yeah, I think with them, there was just some unrealistic expectations that Ellie was going to give birth to a baby girl and then all of a sudden be just totally normal after the fact. It was a huge life-changing event.
Yeah, and speaking of baby girls, then we also had this story of baby Annie that was like a very weird story to me because it felt like this was completely Randall out of character the whole time. Like he's saying that he immediately wants another baby, and Beth is like, hey, I just gave birth. Like, can we have this conversation a little bit later? And then a little bit later is like 10 minutes later where he's pushing it again, which I thought was really insensitive and a bit out of character for him. And I'm not saying he can't be insensitive, because we all saw what happened with Rebecca.
Yeah.
But it's not the norm for Randall. And when he explained it, where he was like, oh, I want to have all these branches of my family tree and whatever. Okay, cool. But you can explain that to Beth down the road. She already asked you for a break. She needs a break. Can you give her a break? And then he was sort of getting into, and I want a boy. I was like, that is also a bit strange for him to be like, you have had this baby girl in your life for like a minute. Yeah. And you're already like, all right, who's next? Let's get the next one out here. And I don't know. I wasn't really into that either.
It did feel a little bit weird for Randall, just because we've seen over time that he kind of takes after Jack even more so than the other Pearsons do.
Yes, he does.
And I don't feel like, we saw what Jack did do when he was on the ride back with Rebecca, but at the same time, we know that what Jack wouldn't do, and I don't think that's something that Jack would do, where he would all of a sudden be like, I want another kid, and I want it to be a boy, or whatever else. That is another story to me, kind of with the Jack one, where I don't really know what we got out of it, other than that I really, really want a blizzard now. But, like, beyond that, I love blizzards, by the way. I'm just saying.
I know it. And then we had the Kevin story. Now, the Kevin story actually did give us a couple of things.
Yes.
One, of course, we got the proposal with the hospital band, where I was like, okay, it's better than the last proposal, which was just talking in the car. But at the same time, I kind of wish that he had that moment where he looked at her and he was like, you could see it on his face. He's like, yeah, this is it. This is going to be my life. I want this to be my life. And then the next episode, we got to see him getting ready for that proposal. And it's not just like, I'll buy you whatever ring you want. Here's this hospital band. I'm down on one knee. Like, really put some thought into it. If you've gotten to this point now, your first proposal didn't have a lot of thought in it either. You just talked about it in the car.
Yeah, this is February, right? Like, this is the month of romance. I feel like...
And Pisces. It is Pisces season. Get out your dream boards.
I don't know about any of that. My knowledge... That's a zodiac, right?
That's right.
Okay, see, my knowledge of the zodiac is enough where I have to ask, that is the zodiac, right? But see, it is the month of love, and I love love. I want to see love expressed on this show. This show has given us a lot of love over the time, and I do wish that we had something where, Kevin is calling up Randall and, like, getting Randall's advice, or maybe, like, Kevin is doing his best to, like, browse around online. Just, like, give us some of those fun moments. Like, I understand the sentimental value behind the proposal that he did, and it does have its charm, but I could have had something a little bit more. And I'm not saying I needed to see, Madison walk into a house and it's like cascading diamonds from the ceiling and Kevin's like standing there throwing dollar bills in the air. But
no, but I feel like it needs to be something that's a little more thought out. Like, we already had the not really thought out proposal, the spontaneous, hey, in the car, let's get married. And now it's the same thing that's happening again. It's the, hey, I have nothing, let me rip this hospital band off and give it to you because I can't wait a day to go maybe get a ring or maybe think out what I'd like to say or something else like that.
I will say the present day storyline that did give me the most feels was just that little moment of Toby outside the hospital with the sign being like, I'm your dad. That was so adorable. Like, I was just like, oh, Toby.
I really liked that, and I really liked that we've gotten to the point with Kevin and Madison where Madison is starting to know him well enough to be able to deal with that paparazzi situation for him, to be able to sort of diffuse the situation, get the paparazzi guy to go, and make Kevin still feel good about that stuff. That was a great moment, because I've definitely seen the comments online where people are like, oh, Kevin shouldn't have to give up his career for Madison, and Madison needs to figure out how to fit in with his life. But it really needs to be that they both figure out how to be in each other's lives, where he is still working, she is still able to do what she wants to do. And that was a nice moment where she's like, I'm going to help you out with your career and what is going on in your life. Let me deal with this paparazzi.
Are we ready to introduce a new segment now entitled Hypocrisy Corner, where I act like a total hypocrite for about a minute and a half?
All right, let's have it.
Okay. Remember weeks ago during Birth Mother where I lambasted how I did not like the Randall going through the spiritual experience with his biological mom?
Yeah.
I am now here to defend the Kevin having a conversation with dead Jack. Because
all right.
Here's the thing. It was clearly established that this was a dream. This was clearly established that this is what was going on here.
Yes.
And I really liked it for that very reason. And I don't think we ever got anything established with Randall, but I do like it when we have these sort of weird moments where, oh, here is Jack actually getting to talk to an actor he never gets to work with on the show. But it's like, okay, because of the framework, let's make this clear, I really did like this moment. I am putting on my suit of armor for the YouTube comments in response to this week's Hypocrisy Corner.
No, I really liked it too, and I like it for the same reason. They actually made it very clear what was going on, as with not with the Randall and the lake. Was that a ghost? Was that in his head? Nobody knows. It's open to interpretation. Sometimes that's fine, but I'm really glad that this wasn't, because it's been a couple episodes now where Kevin has really been putting a lot of pressure on himself to be the man that his dad was. It was nice to have that dream where finally he's having that feeling of, we're different people. Like, you don't have to be like me. You can be like you. You're doing great as you. And it was just nice to have that.
I enjoyed it. And, you know, sometimes this show, even in an episode we don't love, they at least give us these little moments where we're just like, oh, this is us. You make us smile. And then you drop the hammer in the closing seconds that Deja in the future is pregnant.
Yes! Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because the whole thing in the past where Randall was talking to Annie, it was just like, baby Annie was like, oh, you know, one of you guys are going to give me grandchildren, great-grandchildren. They're all going to have my eyes. And the first person that seems to be pregnant from his kids is his adopted daughter, who is not going to have Randall's eyes, but is still going to be the grandchild that is going to get spoiled to death.
Oh, no kidding. And the thing is, where's Malik? Like, I hope Malik is still in her life.
No, I hope so too.
Just give me more Malik. And no offense to the Malik and Deja relationship, but the Malik and Randall relationship, like, this is the bromance for the ages for me.
Listen, I'm also glad. It has been a while since we've been in the 10 years into the future.
Yeah.
I'm very glad that we have revisited it, because for a long time there was a huge debate on how far in the future it was, because the makeup department aged Randall and Kevin like they looked way past 50, but they were really only 10 years in the future. They ended up saying that is where they are. The makeup department didn't do him dirty this time. He looked like he was 50. It was fine. They took away some of the gray, just put a little tiny bit in his beard. It was just right.
They did a good job with that. They did a good job with so much in this little flash forward at the end, because here's where we get to the meat of some of our theorizing here, because we're trying to figure out who was in that car that showed up. And here's how far we went down this rabbit hole. We thought we could try to ascertain who could be in this car by what kind of car it is, what it looks like. They literally showed you
nothing.
The tiny bit of the front bumper. They didn't even show you the part of the car where the logo would be at.
Yeah, because I was kind of thinking, like, okay, if this person is rolling up in like a Bentley or something, it is probably Kevin's wife. Whether that is Madison, Sophie, somebody we haven't met yet, who knows? But that's who that probably would be. But there was nothing. It was like literally a headlight and a tiny bit of a front fender. Like, there was like nothing.
My theory on it, I'm going to put this out into the universe already. I think it's Madison. And I think it's Madison because this is us pointing and laughing at everyone who thought Madison was going to die. I think they're going to appreciate doing that.
So now you feel that in the future he is still married to Madison.
I do now. I've changed my mind.
I know, because last week you were still on the they're going to co-parent train together.
It's just after seeing them in this episode, and this is what This Is Us does to us all. It messes with our heads, where I think she's showing up. I should backtrack a little bit here. Okay,
All right.
Here's my clear thought here. I think it is Madison. I'm not 100% sold that she and Kevin are actually romantically together, but I think that she would be there for a moment like this. Because
Absolutely.
regardless of what the relationship is, she's very much in his life. I think, she's obviously they have kids together. I want them to be together. Like, I'm unabashedly on the Kevin and Madison train at this point. I wasn't sure at first, but I'm here.
Yeah, this show has taken me on a ride because for the longest time I was on the Sophie train and I was like, nobody can come in. It can't happen. I have changed since last season. I have been getting closer and closer being on this Madison train, and I've been there since last season. I really like her. I like that. We've already got Randall and Beth, and they're perfect. And then we've got Toby and Kate and their relationship, loves of their lives. It just needs to feel like one of them gets something a little bit different. Not exactly like their parents, something that's different like life would have. Yeah. So Madison makes more sense for that to happen, where there is still love. It may not be your first love, but that doesn't mean it has to be your last love, that you can have a different kind of love.
I think it makes the most sense to me too, just based on sort of the way that Randall announced their presence, because I don't know. I don't think it, I think you pointed out some of this too, that there's a tonality to the way that he speaks that it feels very deliberate that it's someone he may know.
Yeah, the way that he says, oh, look who's here, sort of thing. Some of the people we were thinking about is like, maybe it's Miguel. Maybe Miguel's not doing that well either. Maybe he's in a senior home and somebody's bringing him there. It could be, but the tonality and the way Randall said it, I'm like, okay, maybe not Miguel. Maybe it's someone bringing Jack that's not Kate. But again, I don't think he'd be saying it like that. Maybe... Yeah. Ellie is showing up again, though, wouldn't be like that. So the two people that I think it is either Kevin's wife, so either a Madison or a Sophie, if Sophie ends up being there, or I think it's Kate. And I may be on an island here, but I legit don't think that she's dead. I think they have some other reveal that's going to be coming up for her in the future, and that's why we haven't seen her. But after the cabin thing where it was like, oh, she wrote her name Pearson. She has no ring on. And then that just came and went like nothing. Like it meant nothing. And Toby was he was still there. He was out looking for Rebecca. I'm just like, okay, no. She's in the future. She's not dead. And she just rolled out.
I think
with Jack. That's who I think he was on the phone with. Toby was on the phone with. Oh, yeah, they're on their way. Or, yeah, they're bringing Jack here. Okay, well, that's who it is. And the way Randall was so familiar with him. Oh, look who it is. Yeah. It's my sister. That's sort of what I think is happening.
I think it makes sense. Like, I'm in the Madison camp, but, if you want to say Kate shows up, it's more than realistic. I can see
Madison as well, too, or whoever he's married to.
I think ultimately, we already know, like you said, Toby's already there at the time in which this other person seemingly showed up.
Yep.
We know Nikki is there.
Yep.
This is obviously Kevin's place.
Yep.
If Kevin's there, his kids are there.
Yep.
We don't know exactly where Haley is in all of this because she was never really announced that baby Jack was, or I guess, now preteen Jack or whatever we're going to call him.
Yeah, I guess he'd be like, 12 or something.
Yeah, he'd be somewhere along those lines. So we have a good sense of some of the people who are there at this point. I just sure hope we get something more in the future reasonably soon. Like, you can't just leave us with that.
Yeah, for waiting as long as we all have to get sort of an update on this 10 years into the future, this was so small. Like, it was cool to learn that Deja was pregnant, and that's really awesome. But there are bigger questions that we all have. Like, where is Kate? Who is Kevin married to? Who is Nikki married to? Maybe this is Nikki's wife showing up and being like, oh, look who it is. Fill in the blank. Who knows, boy, right?
The Nikki Cassidy army is coming out now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they can still do in this timeline. I'm sure we will have something at some reasonable point in the future, but our ride is slowing down. We're almost at the destination now. Like, it's an imperfect episode of This Is Us. I think it's just we're coming off such an emotional high of such like a wonderful, feel-good episode.
And this season in general has had pretty chock-filled, stuffed episodes with a lot of really good stuff. that I felt like, I was in the car with everybody and this car just wasn't getting anywhere. There just didn't feel like enough content in this episode for me.
We'll have more coming up very, very soon. You know, we got to go get a blizzard, but, you know, we want to know from you guys, what did you think about This Is Us Season 5, Episode 19? Thanks for joking. Let me know in the comments, and if you like this discussion, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, support us further. We have links in the description to the store, as well as our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.